books and conducted a fuckload of political research, and has also taught politics at the PhD level to hundreds of, if not thousands of fucking students. So it's a little different.
DNA doesn't mean you know anything about fucking intelligence.
And just because Noam Chomsky wrote a book about politics doesn't mean
he knows about politics.
Yeah, because he's a fucking linguist, Destiny, by your standards.
No,
but he has published papers relating to political things.
Obviously capable of educating people on politics at institutions.
It's not about that. You're missing.
Well, what is really the argument?
Nick's point.
I'm sorry. So here's
for merely commenting on this. James Watson was destroyed.
Yeah. So here's the point. The point is that somebody who is held in very high regard, somebody who is very important to the scientific community, grossly stepped outside of his lane and started to offer these explanations, saying that, like, well, the differences in IQ between people is genetic. This was a horribly irresponsible statement. It empowers the fuck out of Nazi scum like fucking Nick. It is not his area of expertise. It is not something he was able to substantiate in any way, shape, or form. And the fact that you continue to appeal to, well, he was really important, only supports my argument. Of course he was a really important figure. That's exactly why people like this shouldn't be making these types of statements.
You're saying that the statement that he made was untrue. Like, on top of it being outside of his area of expertise,
it's not something that he studied.
Differences that were untrue.
It's not something that he studied or he's qualified to comment on. Whether or not it's actually true, no one knows the answer right now.
Dude, you're a streamer.
Why is this? Here's what.
Like, he's not qualified, but you are. That's fucking crazy, man. He discovered DNA, was one of the best scientists ever, won a Nobel Prize, and he was not qualified. But you are a streamer. A literal cock, leftist, bisexual streamer. You know the truth, right?
I don't understand. Why can't we take away that honor? Like, why can't we take away that his honorary degree or whatever the fuck they took away from him? Sorry, his honorary titles awarded to him. Like,
that's not, no, you don't understand the scope of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
He can't get a job anywhere. He had to sell his Nobel Prize. He's universally ostracized in the academic community.
I'm so sorry that people, by and large, have a negative opinion of people who are talking out of their asses when it comes to racist things, especially when it's a person in a position of authority who's using that position of authority in a dangerously irresponsible manner.
You're missing the point. You're completely missing the point.
Does not protect you from the freedom of consequences. I mean, there's no such thing. There's no
you're completely missing the point on this.
The problem here is that Nick wants that person not to get Nick wants that person not to get fucking banished from society, not to even get criticized. That's the issue.
He can get criticized. Okay. But
all right. Are you going to be the person who's now?
If I go and watch the Avengers at the end of the month and I don't like it, should I be banished from society for voicing an unpopular or controversial opinion? Because that's what you're saying.
It's not simply a controversial opinion, and the fact that you keep conflating it, or the fact that you keep making it seem as though it's like you keep minimizing the impact of saying something like there are genetic differences between intelligence and IQ, a thing that is the justification for the reason why all of these like unfounded fucking scientific things that we threw away, like phrenology and shit, and all the race realism that's now making a comeback with all the white nationalism that we see. The reason why it's not just a simple difference in opinion is because it is damaging, and it literally fucking justifies the ethno-staters and the violent ethno-staters who want to take action on top of them.
No, it doesn't. It does not justify anything.
Well, why is Nick using it?
Hassan, it only justifies what they think if you agree with the premises they set up. Okay.
Well, yeah.
I don't agree with those premises. Surely you don't either, right? So look, right. Let's not talk about IQ. Let's talk about height. Right? Different groups of people have different average heights. This is probably genetic. That's probably just the way things are, right? But that doesn't make them any less human. It doesn't mean
is Sargon going full race
less
realism?
human rights.
I think so.
It does. You can sit in denial of whatever this things say, and I don't even know why these things are like that, right? But there is no doubt that there are differences between groups of humans in various different factors.
Yeah.
That is in doubt. That is a highly contentious point,
That's a
Sargon.
fucking stupid thing to say, Destiny.
No, that's not. There are over
really
200. No. Just because there are some traits that may or may not be factored related to your fucking genetics doesn't mean that we can say something like intelligence, which is a highly polygenetic trait.
I'm not talking about
it's something that can be.
I'm talking about height.
okay, if you want to talk about height, nobody's going to disagree with you. But this is called a Martin Bailey, right?
You've just conceded the whole point. You've just conceded the whole point.
So wait, okay, so if somebody were to make the argument, some people could have 2 hearts and some people could have 1 heart, and I go, well, what do you mean? You're like, well, some people are taller and some people are shorter. Does that mean I concede that fucking point? Of course not. This is a fucking big switch. Just because there might be variances in height between 2 different groups, why isn't this settled? You guys, dude, honestly, you guys should go fucking publish articles in Nature right now, because this is such a heated debate in the fucking research community. You guys could solve it right now. Like, LOL, you guys think that some differences in IQ isn't genetic? Well, just look, some groups of people are taller than others. Oh, I've solved the whole fucking issue. If only science were that fucking easy. If only science were that fucking easy. Holy shit, why do we waste so much time educating people? We've got 22-year-old fucking Nazis on fucking YouTube over here that are educating everybody on how intelligence research works.
Why are you getting so upset about this?
Right? Look at this. Look at this.
Let's go ahead. Let's dial this back for a minute. I think Sargon's argument was that because there are differences like height that are naturally observable that vary between different groups of people based off of their ethnicity, then the assumption would be there could also be other differences besides that. Is that what you're saying, Sargon?
The point is, I mean, sure, undoubtedly,
that's what you're saying.
I think it would be against the theory of evolution if groups of people who had evolved in different situations didn't have physical differences. I think that would be an impossibility. But the point is, it doesn't matter because, I mean, for example, we don't kick people out of our society for being low IQ. We don't kick people out of society for being high IQ or anything. We don't do anything on the
But I think that I know what you're saying, okay, and I can see that line of logic. But I think that you can also very easily concede that if you have some sort of like scientific theory that shows that certain races are dumber than others, that's going to obviously influence the way that people are going to treat and legislate against those different races. I mean,
well, I don't think we should have any kind of racial legislation.
Well, that's the problem that I think that Destiny and Hasan have with these types of conversations, is that they could lead to that legislation.
I don't agree. I think that I think the only people doing racial legislation at the moment are the left, and they
never gonna happen.
Adjust the balances. And the thing is, right? It's not even that we. I mean, like the numbers are what the numbers are. Why
can you explain that? Well, I'm stupid. You guys know this. I'm not a very smart guy. Can you explain what you meant when you said the only people doing racial legislation are on the left?
Yeah.
Affirmative action.
Yeah. I mean, what sort of examples would you make?
All right.
That's what he's.
Do you think that that's corrective legislation built upon like identity politics from the past?
You're like incapable of just focusing on the point.
Wait a second. I don't think that's a valid axis.
I don't think that we should get into the affirmative action debate because we do have another topic that we want to get into.
Okay. I just want to.
And everybody obviously is going to
have because Sargon and Nick, and perhaps we do this as well, make a lot of points that in this like matter-of-fact way, and it kind of goes unnoticed because again they're eloquent speakers and they get to go on for 5 and sometimes 10 in Nick's case minutes uninterrupted. So I sometimes have to just kind of ask them what they mean by that. Sure. I'm just a little confused, you know.
I do think that we can do a better job being more concise.
Yeah. Okay. But just to finish that point, the whole thing about like IQ varies for many different reasons, right? And so even if race is a component, it's really not a very important component when we know that, for example, in my country, the study was done, working class people can suffer up to a 15-point IQ depression just for being poor. I mean, it strikes me that is the first place we should look if we're looking to actually help people become more intelligent. If that's a social goal that we have, then that's definitely something that we can talk about and we can look at. And I agree, we're not going to start discriminating against people racially or anything like that. That is just the wrong thing to do. But destroying someone's life for pointing out that these things are true or false or whatever, that's wrong, man. Procedurally, that is just wrong. We shouldn't be destroying anyone's lives for opinions they hold.
I think that there are two different arguments being made here, right? And I think Destiny, there's the argument that his life should or should not be destroyed because he spoke out of his area of expertise, and also his life should or shouldn't be destroyed because he spoke about something that could be dangerous to society as a whole. And those are two separate discussions.
Well, here, if I could just, because I'm the one that brought up the example, so let me because I feel like we've really just lost, and I will keep it brief. I will have some brevity here. The question was, how do we platform people who are concerned about fertility rates, for example, in a responsible way? And Destiny says, well, I don't know how we could platform people who say we hate all Jews responsibly, or we have to exterminate, a certain group of people responsibly. I agree. There's no responsible way to platform an exterminationist. I agree with that. But the point I was trying to illustrate is the fact that even somebody who has some degree of legitimacy should maybe be afforded some degree of respect in society. They make a passing remark. Their event isn't even about this topic. The topic of the talk isn't even about this subject, but it comes up in conversation. And maybe you don't agree with it. Maybe it could lead to bad things. But he simply observes or gives his own opinion on a scientific matter. And maybe it's not his area of expertise, but he just mentions in passing, I have this heterodox opinion about this subject, of which, by the way, many IQ experts agree. So this is not like it's just
passing. It was
one
during
radical.
A lecture, by the way.
It was passing. It wasn't. If you look,
it was in a lecture. It was during a lecture.
The way that
and he repeated them multiple times.
So the point is, really, are we really? Can we not handle it for more than 2 minutes here?
Let's just stop right now.
The thing is, he's like saying wrong things.
This is so ridiculous. You just can't. You can't wait more than 30 seconds for the point to be made.
Everything he's saying. He didn't say this in passing. He said it during his 2018 documentary. He said it during fucking lectures. He's repeated these on multiple times. That's why he's like,
chill out for a second.
Asmongold, go ahead. Yes, Asmongold, please go ahead.
So whether he mentioned it in passing or not, whether it was in his debate or not.
Every time Nick speaks, it's like maximum 1 or 2 minutes, and they have to interrupt him. Why? Because he's saying the truth. Because when Destiny is going about 5 minutes, or even Hasan, well, nobody's interrupting you, even if you're saying a bunch of bullshit. Because Nick and Sargon, they know they're gonna destroy you, so they let you talk. But as soon as Nick speaks, 1 or 2 minutes, boom.
I don't think this conversation, this point matters. So let's just skip it.
Yeah, obviously people are getting hung up on that. That's not my fault. Remember.
Well, you are also getting hung up on it because you're using language to downplay the way that he expressed it.
But the point is simply to demonstrate.
Okay.
The point is to demonstrate, if you're saying, what is the responsible way to platform people? It appears that there is simply no tolerance. That was the point I'm trying to get across.
Okay.
Even if you're talking about somebody who's not an ideologue, like that they're not a Nazi or whatever, but you're not even willing to tolerate dissent on that level, that an expert in the field of science generally cannot make a claim which you disagree with, which you might think could lead to bad things and you disagree with, without his entire life being destroyed. That was the point. Okay. The point is to say that, obviously dissent against the system, no matter how moderate, no matter how infrequent, no matter who's saying it, is not tolerated to any extent. That was the point. Not that he's a scientist and therefore he's correct. And the point was not even about race and IQ. It's about how can we express dissent in a way that is responsible and appropriate, because the left seems to not tolerate any of it.
Do you feel like that his and just to wrap this up, I don't know, Destiny or Hasan, if you guys want to have any closing.
Let's ask him before you finish that. Let's go ahead. As soon as you finish your statement, I want to do the wrap up. As soon as Nick answers that, that'll be his wrap up. We'll go over to Sargon, Destiny, then Hasan, then let's move on. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
The guy whose life got destroyed, it was me. By the way, he sold that Nobel Prize for like $5 million. So also, and he already agreed to appear in a documentary in like fucking 2018 already, like related to stuff like this. And he repeated the same views that he had that he first got in trouble for in that documentary.
Do you think that, Nick, do you think that in any way it was irresponsible for him to express that while it's not necessarily his area of expertise?
I think that's absurd. No, I think people give their unsolicited opinions on areas that are not their expertise all the time. What are we all doing here? What are we all doing here if that's such a crime?
Exactly.
No, I don't think that's entirely true, because don't you feel like he has a responsibility as being somebody who is a scientist and whose opinion will by default be taken more seriously?
Yeah, so it may be true since he's a scientist.
Caution whenever he's saying things like this that could be interpreted in a way. And I don't think you can necessarily treat the person who, even as you said, discovered DNA as just an average person who's talking about something that they don't know about, especially when it's so close to what he's actually so well known for.
No, I don't think that's irresponsible at all. I think it's irresponsible to not tell the truth, frankly. You know,
So
our
you
society
agree
is falling
with what
apart because people prefer
Right.
nice lies as opposed to hard truths, and
Okay,
that's
so
irresponsible.
you're saying what he said was true, like that?
I am
That's your
saying. I'm saying if he believes what he's saying is true, it's irresponsible to not tell the truth.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get some closing thoughts.
Wait.
from,
Okay. Yeah. Wait. Can I give a closing thought to that?
Well, can we do Sargon then you?
Yeah. Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, Sargon, go.
Sure. The question about James Watson it's a kind of red herring again, but it's the point really isn't the truth or not of the question of IQ. The point is he was absolutely demolished for saying things, even if it was in lectures and one, that are just politically incorrect, and it was this political incorrectness that got him demolished. We don't know about, like, this is the point. It's still a huge field that has so much disagreement within it. We haven't got a certain answer on this, but for him giving one perspective that may or may not be correct, he got absolutely smashed, and that's the problem. That's what Nick was speaking to earlier about the radicalization, ostracization, and the demolition of people who hold these what are quite out there views. He wasn't like he said, he wasn't a Nazi, he wasn't like a KKK guy, he wasn't picking up a gun like the Christchurch shooter. He was a professor. And so now we're at the point where we have to find a way of finding these lunatics and kind of rehabilitating them. And I agree that people who want genocide, obviously not them. They can just be like in the chat when they're watching or something and go, yeah, gas everyone or whatever it is. But get the people who are not advocating for that and ask them, okay, what is the concern that you have and what truth do you think you have? And then we can analyze it and see if it's correct. And then if there's something true about it, then the onus is on us to take that into consideration, like the birth rates in Denmark and whatnot. That is a true thing, and we should consider it. But the thing is, as soon as we start doing that, then it kind of undermines the foundations of a lot of leftist ideology. I mean, like Hasan earlier said, well, we'll just bring in people from elsewhere and they'll become like us. It's like, okay, but that's not happening in Britain in many parts. And it's not because they can't, but because they're not incentivized to be so because of the sheer number of people who have come in. And that's really the problem. It's the number rather than the like where they've come from.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the true thing that I think needs to be spoken.
Yeah, I do remember that statement. Yeah, Hasan. Well, actually, you know what? Let's not even get into that.
I was just
yeah.
Let's go.
Destiny, go ahead.
Let's go ahead and let Destiny please take your time, say everything you need to. Same as Hasan, uninterrupted, guys. Please, same respect. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Destiny.
I mean, I don't have a lot. I mean, we're revolving around this one topic a lot of this James Watson guy. Like, when you're a scientific researcher, there are certain standards that we hold scientific researchers to. We rely on these people to give us truthful pieces of information because we can't do this on our own, right? We drive cars every day, not because we are chemical engineers that can put together engines, but because we rely on people getting, the facts correct at a higher level before we ever get the actual product. This is true in every single part of our lives. We rely on people to know what they're talking about when it comes to policy. Absolutely critical that this person realizes that every statement they give is going to be extremely scrutinized and held to a very high standard. You absolutely have a responsibility, not only to public discourse, but maybe even to humankind as a whole, or at the very least to your own scientific community, to make sure that you are not irresponsibly disseminating horrible information that you have no right to talk about in a public forum. It's just absolutely horrible to do it. And I hope that, I know that most scientists, because most of them disavowed Watson when he did it, understand this incredibly important concept that is like the underpinning to how scientific people or communities function, at least in this planet.
So you think he should have a higher, I guess, like expectation of like his?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's a cornerstone to like scientific discourse.
Okay.
Yeah, where we exist now.
It's not like they killed the guy; they took away the honors. Like, this is the thing I don't understand. Like, if you're an institution that wants to maintain its integrity and you take away the honors
and his career
from this dude that you had honored originally for going around and damaging that institution, then yeah, that's completely understandable thing to do.
Can I come back at that just for a minute? I do feel like also that is a little bit counter to what you were saying about like the whole like being able to, support yourself and everything. I think like a very core tenet of socialism is being able to support yourself and speak out and not have to worry about that kind of stuff as much. And whenever this person like removing his honors, I think is absolutely downplaying what actually happened, apparently, is that he's unable to find a job, which Destiny says is untrue. But let's assume that it is true. Whenever you're completely disbarred and removed from the society that you're able to make a living in, I think it's much more severe than just having your honors removed. especially whenever you're living and your means to support yourself and live is part of it.
Well, I mean, like, the thing is, you have to look at it from the institution side as well. Like, who are you going to force somebody to take on, like, this person who's kind of like ostracized themselves from the scientific community?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a two-part thing. I just feel like I feel like you can look at it from both directions.
Yeah.
And,
well, I mean, you can, but like, so like, it would be like if, let's say I'm in the gaming community and I'm like, I just don't think anyone
honestly,
should play
like,
video games ever.
The only reason I said that is because Hasan like talks a lot about like socialist stuff.
Sure,
and
yeah.
I do feel like that was kind of a little bit more
I mean,
common.
I'm sorry that I don't feel that bad for the race realist who sold his Nobel Peace Prize and made a fuckload of money at the age of 90. And it's not like he's rejected from society altogether. The institutions that had honored him in the past have taken away that honor. It's if this is the price that people like Nick Fuentes cannot even come to terms with, for someone who disrespects the scientific method and uses their position of authority to spread, race realist bullshit, Nick and Sargon want to be the ones who put the corrective measures in place. They want to be the ones who decide what gets to be said and what doesn't. And that's what's really frustrating to me, because throughout the conversation, they tried to make it seem as hard as possible. With all of their might, they tried to make it seem as though communism and Nazism was equally as damaging and equally as violent in regards to ideology. And it's very easy and demonstrably. I mean, you can easily show that this is not true.
Agreed.
That's all I'm going to say.
That was a very nice, long discussion without any interruptions. You guys can learn from me and Sargon.
Okay, great. So let's go ahead and go to the next topic.
Well, I hate to do this, chaps, but it's gone 4 o'clock in the morning here.
Okay, you gotta go.
I'm gonna have to duck out.
I have to leave in 20 minutes too. Starbucks is gonna close. I need a hot chocolate. Okay.
In that case, should we just skip to the last short thing for 20 minutes and wrap it up?
Do it.
Sargon, if you're okay with that.
Honestly, it's nearly 4:30. So I'm gonna have to flake.
Okay.
If that's the case, let's call it right here.
I mean, like, honestly, we had a lot of discussions, and even though we only had 3 of the planned topics, I think we talked about a good half dozen things that were really important. We had a lot of good discussions, and I think everybody probably learned something out of this. And so thank you, everybody, for coming on and being part of this. I mean, it was a huge success. I would consider this show a huge success. Yeah. So thank you, everybody, for being part of it and being reasonable. And also, another thing that's really important is being willing to come to the table and talk to people who you might completely revile, completely disagree with, and still be willing to have a conversation and be relatively civil.
Nick, I believe you're having a show after this, correct?
That's right. Yeah, America First with Nicholas J. Fuentes. I'll be going live probably in 10 minutes.
Finish. So, guys, let me know in the comments what you think. Who do you think won the debate? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Leave a like if you want to. Christ is King, and God bless you.